It's working. Good afternoon, everybody. Looks like a lot of people have skipped the last session slot. It's understandable. Thank you all for coming here. It's really great to see at least this much people. I want to thank, of course, all of you that are here and all those people who have been very supportive and helpful during this event and before it. My name is Mikko. I come from Finland, and I work at the University of Turku in desktop team services. And I do operating system and software deployment, printing services, MSR repackaging, and general system admin stuff. There's my Twitter account if you're interested. I'm not tweeting a lot, so there maybe is not too much to follow. A few words about the university I work. We have 7 faculties, 3,500 full-time equivalent employees, over 20,000 students, over 5,000 workstations, over 400 servers, and quite mixed and diverse environment. And although we have quite centralized IT to take care of the computers. About this session, you can tweet if you're too shy to shout and ask. The hashtag I'm following is MMS UDB323. And I'm here to tell you a story. This is one of those sessions that is what we have learned from people who have actually done something, not just consulting. We migrated our software deployments from the group policy-based software installations to the configuration manager. And at that time, there was only configuration manager 2007. I would have loved to have 2012 config manager. It has a lot of nice features, so we'll try to focus on those two, and especially how the application model would help us. The scripts that I'll show you quickly will be available at the myitforum.com. They're not yet there. I'll put them there as soon as I can. This session will be split into 3 different parts. The first part will be getting familiar with the group policy-based software installations, what it is and how it's related, or what are the differences between that and the configuration manager software installations. And in part 2, we will be inspecting the published installations or per user installations and how we migrated those to the config manager. And the part 3 is the per machine or the assigned installations. Just raise your arm if you're currently using group policy software installations in your environment or you're familiar with it. Okay. Rest of you, if you have questions about MSI repackaging, just get those guys. I've been there, and I know, and I can feel your pain. It's not always funny. Okay, we'll start the first part with the demo. Actually, this is Windows Server 2012, the hottest and the newest that you can get, and the group policy management console. And I've set up a few OUs here. Here is under domain computers, we have computer labs. There is 1 lab room, and we have desktop computers. And here we have GPOs. Install Adobe Reader. It's still empty. It's nothing there. Then we have domain users in a different OU. Under the stuff, there should be 1 policy, yes, a published software. policy. And we'll start by adding the Adobe Reader into this install Adobe Reader GPO. It's probably something that you have been doing, so there's nothing special about it. We'll just edit the GPO, go to the computer configuration, policies, software settings, software installations, right-click, new package. Then we will get to the DFS share and the root will the packages. This is quite important that you have some kind of a path that it's not changing. And we'll get to the advanced part. And here we can define some. Did I just pick Flash Player? You didn't say me. Well, yeah, it was Flash Player, sorry. Let's do it again. Adobe Reader, here it is. Okay. And now the Group Policy Management Editor is going through the MSI package and it's extracting information from it. And soon we will get the dialog. Here it is. Just plain information, name. This is assigned installation. We could ignore the language. Maybe we have some modifications. Yes, we have one MST file. Apply that as well, and that's it. Okay. Yep. So that's quite all right. There was an error. Don't worry, it's fine. It's just like Contoso. Everything works always. And all the computers which are underneath this influence of this group policy would get the Adobe Reader at the next boot up, the next startup when the computers reboot. And we could link this group policy into other OUs as well. Install Adobe Reader, and now all the computers in the lab room 1 would get the Adobe Reader. It's probably something that you all have done. Then in this, under the desktops, I have a published software loopback group policy, which has user group policy loopback processing mode enabled, meaning that it doesn't matter who the user is, but if the user is using a computer which is under this desktop's OU, then the user would get published software installations. There is the user group policy loopback processing mode configured. So it's basically just group policies. And then we'll go through a little deeper what happens when you have done that. And I guess you have seen enough slides for this week. And I decided that we're in Las Vegas, so we will do something a bit differently. So I would like to have 2 volunteers to enter up the stage here with me for a while. Just raise your arm. Okay, Chad, you're welcome. Another one, just come here. Okay, come here. Let's give them applause to these brave persons. You can use the stairs here, or just jump. Hi. There are stairs. Yeah.
How's it going?
Hi there, Mikko.
How's it going?
Fine, thanks. I just have to check your name.
Oh, Dan.
Dan. Okay, Dan. So, Chad and Dan, you didn't know what to expect, but Dan, did you know that you are a computer? No?
Yeah.
But I have a small hat for you here.
Aha.
Just be careful with the glasses.
Okay.
like this. Okay, fine. So,
Crashed already.
you just have to hold it a little. Okay.
1, 2, 1, 2.
Dan, how much is 1 plus 1?
4.
4, okay. Dan has some problems with his arithmetic processor. Then, Chad, you're a user. And I'll have you here a mouse. Where is it? Where is it? It's here. Yeah. Here we go. Just don't plug it into Dan.
You'll crash.
Do you know the password to log on to Dan?
No.
No. Well, Chad is a good example of average user. He doesn't know his password. Okay. Then we have an administrator, some admin guy, and that's me. I have nicely colored admin hat. Whoever wears this hat has all the admin powers. And we're doing software deployments. So what are we missing?
The software.
The MSI package. And I have it here also. The MSI package. Have you ever looked inside MSI package with Orca or instEdit or... I guess you have. Well, we'll see what's inside the MSI package. There are files and registry settings. This is a good example of a registry. If you give user access to it, it will be a total mess. And then we'll have blueprint. There's a blueprint that how the files and the registry settings and everything else that's inside the MSI package should be on the computer. But we'll put this back here. And if we're doing the assigned installation, assigned to computer, then Dan would be the computer, and Dan refreshes his group policies, and at the next startup, he would get the MSI package, and of course, Dan has all the powers on himself. He would be wearing the admin hat and install the software. It's great. That was the easy part. But then, if we publish a software to user, then I, as an administrator, will bless this package. This MSI package will be published to the users. And Chad would be the one to get the publish or the advertisement of the published installation. And Chad decides that he will install the program on Dan. What happens? Well, actually, at that time, Dan gets the admin rights for a while. Sorry. He gets elevated. The install process Dan is not doing the installation, Chad is doing with the elevated powers. And if I log on to Dan and install the same program, then again, I will install it for myself, and Dan counts that, okay, 2 users have installed this program, and Dan will uninstall the program when all of the users have uninstalled the program. So I will only get the user part, the shortcuts and the HKCU parts of the installation. Okay, was that clear? No? Well, thank you, sirs. Just don't leave yet. I have small prizes for you. Over here, here's for Dan. This is Finnish salt licorice and a functional chewy gums, which has it's sweetened with xylitol, which its positive dental effects have been found at the University of Turku in 1970. So there was small information. Here's a chat for you. Thank you. Okay, so thank you, sirs.
Thank you.
You were very brave. Thank you. Let's give them applause. That was okay. Now we don't have to walk through these slides so deeply. We already know what happens. We'll compare the group policy-based software installations and the config manager. The group policy-based software installations has the client-side extension, and the config manager has the client and the GCM exec and everything. While the group policy-based software installations use MSI package or an infamous ZAP file, the config manager actually uses any command line that you can create up. With GPO-based software installations, you can use you get install and uninstall out of the box. As you saw, I just defined the MSI package into the group policy. And with the config manager, we'll have to do install command or uninstall command. They're separate. Or with the application model, we have the install program, and it's recommended that you define also uninstall command. With GPO-based software installations, we get some events, but no centralized reporting. With the config manager, we get a lot of reports and logging. GPO-based software installations uses Active Directory, organizational units, and you can use group policy security filtering, but the config manager has its database, and information can be read from Active Directory and from anywhere. And you can target the installations using collections and queries, and the application model has requirements. GPO-based software installations always has the MSI package, and you can assign or publish it. And with the config manager, we get the package program advertisement, and the application model has different deployment types. There's a question?
Yeah. Is there any way to run a group policy off of an AD query? To apply a group policy to the AD query?
Is there a way to
run a group policy
to run a
against the result of an AD query? I wanted to say any student in my AD that is this campus, because the campus name is under office, create a query, results of that query, run a group policy against it.
Group policies and config manager just don't like each other.
Now, I realize that, but I'm talking
Yeah.
about the ADs.
AD, yeah.
Active Directory. Now, then the group with the
Okay.
I've used configuration manager, strictly the AD. I have a query, a security query I run, get the results. Can I run a group policy list?
We'll have to chat up later. Okay, you come up after the session. Then the GPO software installations, it has kind of we just hope that everything goes okay. With the config manager, we get the return codes, the reports, and the return codes are quite important that we know what actually happened. And with GPO-based software installations, we can sequence the installation using the group policy object link order, but we actually can't define in which order the packages inside the same GPO will get installed. And of course, config manager has a lot of different options. Run out the program first, task sequences, and application model has requirements and dependencies. The group policy software installations make sure that the computer is in the state that is defined in the MSI package, while the configuration manager, at least the package model, just runs the command, and after that it's not interested in it. With GPO-based software installations, we have no scheduling options, while the config manager can be scheduled. With group policy-based software installations, we should use kind of something like DFS root, DFS share directory, so that the install source won't change. And config manager has the package source files, distribution point, config manager, cache path, and it has also an option to use the Windows installer source list management, which will try to keep the install source in condition. Then here is a kind of a, because we're talking about group policy-based software installations, we have group policies, and it's, like I said, it's everything as group policies are. So user part, computer part, and client processes the group policies it gets from the domain. And the client-side extension on the client gets the information, and it tells the Windows installer to do its magic with the MSI package. And after that, we get the program on the client, or we get it uninstalled. And these both technologies are stateful. The Windows group policy software installations knows the state that the computer should be. Like here, Dan knew that 2 users have installed that program. And Windows installer is also stateful. It knows that the things inside the MSI package should be that way that it's defined. And these technologies together are quite powerful, but also problematic, especially if your MSI package is bad. And this is the same thing that we have been talking. The domain, we define a group policy, and we define MSI package, and the domain, from the domain, the group policy settings flow to the client, and client-side extension reads the information and tells Windows installer to do its tricks with the MSI package. And the user gets the program, or computer gets the program. We have 3 different operating modes. First one is to assign installation to user, assign installation to computer. The second one is to assign installation to users, and it has 2 options: to advertise, which creates only the shortcuts under the start menu, or install at logon. And the third one is to publish to users. And we'll be discussing about the number 1 and number 3. Auto install, that's a technology which is inside the group policy software installations. If the auto install this program, this application by file extension activation is selected, the file type associations will be extracted from the MSI package, and if a user double clicks a file which extension matches with that, the program will be installed automatically. And even though you have hidden the installation that user can't install programs from network, this could be in place as well. So you might have programs on your computers that you're not aware of. Windows installer cache, or cache, Windows installer cache is a place where Windows installer saves inflated versions of the MSI packages. And the reason for that is that it can use it as a when it does self-healing or uninstall. And that's a place where you can look there, but just don't mess up with it. It's really there for a reason. Install source is the original path of the MSI package, where it was installed. And if the install cache cannot be found, then the Windows installer will go after the install source. But if the MSI package is not where the install source says that it should be, then you will be in trouble, because Windows installer can't do anything with that installation. So that's why it's important to have the DFS share. And the config manager has this source update or installation source management, or Windows installer source location manager, which tries to always keep the install source available. And it's based on the MSI package's product code. Here are a few locations so that you can see that it's really there in registry. The install source is in many places. Then the self-healing. we won't go any much deeper into the MSI packages, but in the left-hand side we have a component A inside MSI package. There's file 1 and file 2, and file 1 is a key path for that component. And when a Windows installer is doing self-healing, it will check the key path. If file 1 is there, everything is okay. If file 1 is not there, then Windows installer will reinstall wall component. It will install file 1 and file 2. And the same thing with the component B. There's a register key as a key path for the component B. Update, upgrade, and replace. We have 3 methods to get the new software on computer. Update is where we deploy a Windows installer patch. We can't use that with the group policy-based software installations. We have to patch the administrative installation point and redeploy the application. It's quite slow. With config manager, we can run the command or use software updates. And if we update the software that has been installed by group policy software installations, then the Windows installer thinks that the application should be unpatched while we have patched it, and it will try to fix it. So this will cause a lot of problems if these are not aligned. Upgrade is a method of upgrading software when the installation of the new version uninstalls the old version in the same process as the installation goes on. And you have to be very careful because there are software vendors who don't support upgrades in their MSI packages. You can find in admin guide or some release notes, there is a notification that you must first uninstall the older version. If you install the newer version on top of the old one, then your installation is messed up. And then the replace. Replace is the safest way to get a new software on computer. We first completely uninstall the older version, and then we install the newer version. It's slower, but it works if the uninstall works. Then Windows installer rollback. Rollback is a technology that Windows installer uses so that it can provide the statefulness of the computer. Well, when Windows installer deletes a file, it actually saves a copy of it before deleting. So that's why the install process or the uninstall process might take a long time. But if something goes wrong and the installation or uninstallation is interrupted, Windows installer does a rollback and it returns the computer to the state where it was. The undesirable rollback is something that can happen if you have bad MSI packages. Then you can't install a program or you can't uninstall it. Just be careful with it. Detecting the installations. Now we are coming to the config manager part, because if we are deploying a new software with config manager and there are group policy-based software installations on the computer, we will break this statefulness of the group policy software installations and Windows installer. So we really have to detect if there is group policy-based software installations on the computer. And we need to detect the installations that have assigned to computer or which have been published to user and users have installed those. And this information can be found in the HKLM registry Hive. But it's not straightforward. We need some logic to find it out. Detection method for assigned to computer installations is under the HKLM software, Microsoft Windows, current version, group policy, app, and then some GUID. And that GUID is the value of object GUID attribute of the package registration object inside the group policy object where the package has been defined in Active Directory. Was that clear? Here's a picture. But it's static. You can use that as a detection method. The GUID is also the name of the AAS installation script that the group policy software installation creates. That's one way to detect it. Then, however, the detection method for installations that have been published to users, it's much more complicated because it's also under the HKLM registry key. It's HKLM software, Microsoft Windows, current version, installer, manage, then the domain user seed, installer, products, then this, which I call obfuscated MSI product code. And from there you can see how the bytes or the characters have been mixed up. I don't know why, but I'm not a programmer. Probably it has a good reason. But because there's the user seed part, you really can't create a static detection method. You need a script. And you can use a script in the config manager, 2012 config manager. And there are also information in the user's registry, but that's not necessarily needed for the detection. Then a few options how to get away from the group policy-based software installations. Option 1 would be to use forced uninstall. Just select immediately uninstall the software from users and computers when you're removing the MSI package from the group policy object. But we don't have any scheduling options, so this might be a bit a rough way to do it. And this also leaves the deployment or the undeployment in kind of a live state in group policy. Option 2 is to remove all the commitments, is to select the allow users to continue the use the software but prevent new installations. And that kind of cuts the information between the group policy and the client. It's one way to use. We just have to take care that the installations of the new versions or the uninstallation of the software will be handled by config manager or some other tools. The software will be left on the computer. Third option is to uninstall without removal, meaning that we have a deployment option, uninstall this software when it falls out the scope of management, which means that if we define that option and after that the user or the client no more has that group policy affecting the software, will be uninstalled. You can use that. Option 4, this is the best one, reinstall Windows. It just works the best. Just make sure that the group policies are not affecting the same computer object after you have reinstalled, because you will get all the software back. And option 5, you could use AppV or some other application virtualization to not break the installations on that computer. Okay, finally to the second part, which is about migrating published per user installations. A quick comparison between the GPO-based software installations and config manager. On GPO-based software installations, we publish to user, but on config manager, we had advertisement which could be non-mandatory to computer, or we can also advertise to users. With group policy-based software installations, we can use only domain accounts. With config manager, if we publish to computer, any user account, local accounts as well, can install the program. And the elevated privileges was here up on stage. So the installing account which group policy-based software installations will be the user, not the computer, not the local account. And with the group policy-based, with the config manager, the local system is the one who actually installs the programs, not the user. With group policy-based software installations, user can't receive any notifications about new software, but with config manager, we have the option. Then, how to migrate? A few facts. Published software is installed only once per computer, but the computer keeps up the number and the users that have installed that program. And those installations can be uninstalled only by the users. The computer, you can't install those programs using the local system account because the information about the installations is in the user's registry. And if you just delete the user profiles, you will lose essential information. Published per user installation has also some pros. It's a great way, easy way to provide optional software for users. It has the install, modify, and uninstall features for standard users. It's a 24/7 software installation self-service portal, which is built into the Active Directory. It's ready for you to use. It's just over 13 years old, and it just hasn't got any significant improvements for 10 years. And the cons are that it is a strange mix-up between per machine and per user installations. It's tied to the domain accounts, and if two different users have different versions of the same software, the self-healing will try to install the software for the user that is logged on, and the other user has another version, and it will try to install that back. So the self-healing is kicking in, and it can end up in results that you don't want to see. The challenge that we had is that how we can provide about the same user experience with config manager as we had with the group policy-based software installations. 2012 config manager application catalog is one way, and the other challenge is that we don't want to break the installations. I break one software in our domain by deploying a software with config manager where the group policy-based software installations were in place, and the help desk was not happy. But it was an urgent scenario. The solution is a script called pbuddy, which implements prerequisite analyzer and runs installations. It means a gingerbread cookie in Finnish. And this pbuddy script will be used as a wrapper script for the installation. It detects these blocking group policy-based per machine installations. It detects the blocking per user group policy software installations. It detects if there are blocking running processes, because there's no reason to start the installation if you know that it won't finish. It provides an uninstall feature, which is in group policy-based software installations. It informs the user that the installation has been finished, because the installation can be quite quick, a few seconds. The user sits there for half an hour and waits for the information. And this script can provide a merciful reboot option. The config manager doesn't provide that. There are very few options. Just can say that reboot now or have a countdown. And this script works with all combinations of the x86, x64 environments. And most important, it returns error codes that we get information back what actually happened. Okay, this is how we use it. In a config manager package model, in the program inside the package, we define the command line to be, I don't know if you can see it, but it's wscript.exe run software.vbs. So we don't define install command, we define the installation to be the script, customized script. And of course, because we want user to see something, we have to run with administrative rights, and so that the user actually can interact with the program. It's from the security perspective, not the best option, but if the user sits in front of the computer, he can do whatever he likes anyway. And of course, this will be valid only when the user is logged on. This is how the script works. First, it will check for the blocking per machine installations. If there are them, it will notify the user, and the script will quit. We get the information back to the config manager reports, and we can say help desk that go clean up the computer. If there are no per machine installations that are blocking, then we check the per user installations. If there are those in place, we'll again notify the user. These users have these installations blocking, call help desk, and we get the information back with a different return code. If there are no blocking per user or no blocking installations, then we will check for the blocking processes, because user might be installing, say, Flash Player, and he has Internet Explorer and Firefox with 40 tabs open, and he doesn't want to close those, so there's no reason to start the installation at that point. So if there are blocking processes running, then we'll ask the user that you really want to continue. If he wants, he will stay in this loop for a while until he quits. And we get the error code -3 to the reports. If all the prerequisites have passed, then we'll check if this program actually is installed on the computer. And if it is installed, we will ask the user, do you want to uninstall this program? If user wants to uninstall, we run the uninstall command, which is defined in the script. And then we will return the return code from the uninstall command that we ran. If user didn't have program installed, then we ask, do you want to install the program? If not, then we will check again if that program was installed. If it was, we will return 0, which is everything is fine because there are no changes. If the program was installed, we will return -4. User just gave up. If user wants to install program, then we will run the install command. So this is actually what we should have been putting in the program in the config manager package. And if there are reboots needed, well, if there are no reboots needed, then we will just notify the user that the installation is finished, and we will return the return code from the installation command back to the config manager. And if reboot is needed, then we will inform user that, I'm sorry, we will really have to reboot your computer, and we will wait for user to hit OK, no countdown, and when user hits OK, we will schedule reboot in 60 seconds, and during that time, the script has time to end and return the return code from the installation command. We will see the script now. We're not going through the whole script. I'll quickly show you a few parts from it. First, we'll have to define the few things in the script. We'll have to define the MSI product codes that we want to detect. They go in this array. Then we'll have to define the processes that we will block the installation. We define them here. Then the installation command that we will eventually run, and if reboot is needed, if you want to show something to the user. Then the uninstall part, all the same parts. We can get the uninstall information from the registry or just define the uninstall command here. we'll define if this program is a 32-bit installation. And then at the end of the script, we have a few functions so that it actually operates with the other functions. It actually operates with the 32, 64, and 32 164-bit environments. How to detect the architecture, how to read from registry without the WoW64 kicking in, how to get a seed for the user, how to detect the process, how to play with these GUIDs because the GUID had this obfuscation. And there's also localization. Well, that's about this script. Sorry. Then we'll see what actually happens. This is a computer that has published installations from group policy installations. So we go to control panel, it's here. We go to programs, programs and features, install a program from the network. This is the one. And we can see that we have a lot of installations from config manager application publisher, but we have one installation, Adobe Reader 8.1.2, the latest Adobe Reader. And we can install it, well, not the latest. And at this time, it's actually the user who is installing the program. It's not local system. User gets elevator privileges. Okay, Microsoft seconds, going quite fast. After the Adobe Reader 8.1.2 has been installed, we will install the Adobe Reader 11 or Adobe Reader X, which has been published from, okay, fine, which have been published from the configuration manager. Sorry. Okay. Now, let's zoom it. Like this and this. Okay, we get this error message. Blocking installations found. Program Adobe Reader 8.1.2 is installed for the following users. For me, users must uninstall the program before the new program can be installed. So we're blocking. We're not doing anything, only OK. Well, if I uninstall the Adobe Reader 8.1.2, which I can do from the uninstall program, I'm as a standard user, but the group policy software installations elevates my privileges, so I can actually do the uninstallation. And after that, there are no blocking installations on this computer. And we can go back to install a program from the network or run advertised programs or software center. And now the installation is ready to go. Do you want to begin the installation? If I had Internet Explorer running, it would be complaining about that. Yes, I want to begin. And we get the same user experience as with the group policy-based software installations. But we didn't break the computer. Okay. Then the third part. Migrating installations that were assigned to computer per machine installations. Again, a little comparison chart. With group policy software installations, we can define a program to be installed on a computer, but it will only install at the startup, during the startup process. While Configuration Manager has all the other options, but not the startup option. Installing during the boot is actually quite clever because there is nothing blocking the installation. No user is running installations, is running the programs. Group policy-based software installations uninstalls during startup and the config manager. Okay, that was already mentioned. And the installing account with group policy-based software installations is local system. And with config manager, it's local system if we have checked the run with administrative rights, or then we can use any other account, domain account as well. And how to migrate? Facts are that the programs that are assigned to computer are handled during the startup process. And the group policy software installations and Windows installer will make sure that the programs are installed as they are defined. So this per machine installation type, it's quite inflexible, and you'll have to define new OU structure if you want to have exceptions. The starting point for our migrations were that we had almost 100 install program, something group policy objects, and those were linked to different organizational units throughout the Active Directory. And we also had the permissions given to the different help desk groups so that they could get the programs installed for the computers that they were responsible for. And we didn't want to change this too much. Configuration Manager 2007 administration console is much more difficult than the group policy management console, and it's a pain to define the permissions. With 2012, it's a different story. The challenge was how to tie up the GPOs with the config manager collections, and how to make sure that we're not messing up the group policy-based software installations, and how to prevent this overlapping management, because we already had everything in place in Active Directory. And the solution is another script. This script is kind of a useless after the 2012 Configuration Manager was published, because I think you can do things much more cleverly with the config manager, 2012 config manager. But this script is quite the same. This keksimi, which is a cookie in Finnish, it's a startup script. We'll define it in a group policy, and it will check for the blocking installations. If there are none of them, it will tag the computer with the imaginary software installation GPO install program X. This explains how it works. We have computer in the domain. During the startup, the script will be run. If there's no blocking installations, the computer is tagged with this imaginary installation, but we get that information back to config manager when the hardware inventory cycle runs. Hardware inventory cycle gets the programs that are installed, of course. That's the way it works. This might take some time, so we have scheduled this to happen at the startup. And config manager does its magic, and eventually the program will end up, the computer will end up in the collection, which is defined to get all those computers which have this program, which is not a real program, installed. And we will do the installation into that collection, and we will have the installation or upgrade, this example, Adobe Reader installed to the computer. But this takes time, and this is not an optional solution. But with 2012 Config Manager, there are better ways to tie the group policy object and the installation of the program together. Okay, a small demo. We're not actually doing nothing else but just seeing that this script actually exists. This is for the Adobe Reader, the one that checks for these product codes, and it's pretty much the same as the script we saw before. It checks the installations, and there's actually less things to define. And on this computer, we now have the Adobe Reader 11. Installed. Okay. Then final thoughts. Know your environment and your deployment tools. Know how they work. Especially know the group policy-based software installations. Test every installation and uninstall using the deployment solution, the deployment, whatever you're using. Test it with not just a command line, because there can be differences between them, and with all the client versions. If you have group policy-based software installations in place, be sure that you're not breaking them. And be careful with scripts that some random guy has made. And the last, never underestimate the power of the software vendor to build the most unimaginable solutions in their software and in their installations. Don't trust them. They will cause you a lot of trouble. Links, references, and resources here. Thank you very much. Do the evals, and I guess now we're heading to the closing party. Thank you.